Hello YouTubers, Alaska Prepper here. So one of the first things that I do in the morning when I wake up is I take a look at the news. Not the mainstream media, but the news sources that I go to. So this one, as you can see, is titled 15 Things That Will Happen When the Economy Finally Collapses. Now, before I start reading, I don't think that anyone can predict exactly what will happen when an economy collapses. However, we can make educated decisions or an educated guess, really, as to what will happen in contrast to what has happened in other countries during events such as economic collapses. So I thought that I'd go over some of these items and I'd give you my Alaska Prepper 2 cents on them. I'm not sure if these items that they listed were in order or in any particular order, but I want to go ahead and comment on a few of them in hopes that you will comment back and add your interpretation of what they mean and what we can do to prepare for those things. We should all be prepared for what's coming next. In order to prepare effectively, we need to know what will happen when the economy finally collapses under its own weight. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I did a video, I think it was the last video I did, something about, I'm terrible at remembering titles, but something about that this empire is falling. And the main reason why I personally feel that this empire is falling, I noted on that video, but the main reason is the economic and financial system under which we currently live. Continuing on here, the creation of money out of thin air could only go on for so long, and we are approaching the end. And it says here, Epic Economists put together a great video detailing 15 things. Oh, I guess Epic Economists, it must be a YouTube channel. Epic Economists. I never even clicked on this. This is a hyperlink. Anyways, they put together a video detailing 15 things, and yes, some are a little scary, that will happen when the economy collapses. At this point in time in history, it's no surprise that an economic collapse is coming for us. When the world's largest economy is deep down in a recession, many other countries will not be late to follow the same path. Well, ladies and gentlemen, let me go ahead and put out a couple of things first. I'm not doing this video to scare anyone. I'm doing this to inform you. And in hopes that you will take some of the information that you get out of this video and some of the information that you get from the comments, think about it, and then make a decision that will help you and your family in case something like this were to happen in the near future. In all reality, I feel that our economy is doomed. Our economy / financial system is doomed. But having said that, I'm not sure how much longer they can keep this going. I'm not sure how much more the American people will take. For example, they can go to negative interest rates, which in addition of what the low interest rates has done to people who save and people that have money in the bank saved for retirement or for whatever, is really stealing from them, because inflation, real inflation, is much higher than the 1/4 or 1/10% that you're earning from a savings account. This is something that they do, ladies and gentlemen, to encourage you to gamble in the stock market, to encourage you to buy government bonds. If you're not getting a return from your savings, then you're going to be encouraged to gamble in the stock market. Yes, and to gamble in government bonds, because you are gambling when you put your money in a government bond, because that small percentage that they're giving you is not going to keep up with the real inflation. Any of you that have been to the supermarket lately will probably agree with me that the inflation of the monetary system has caused the inflation of prices in the real economy. Continuing on, it says the financial breakdown the world is about to face over the next few years will be an unprecedented catastrophe, especially considering that the underlying problems from previous crashes were never fixed, only mended together. A real repair would require a complete restructuration in the system. And the elites were never interested in fixing the system that they set up to take advantage of the rest of us. These are 15 things that will happen that you should be prepared for. Now remember, ladies and gentlemen, I'm not saying that these things are going to happen, and I'm going to tell you what I feel about all of them. The number one thing that this article is saying would happen is fuel shortages or rationing of fuel. And that makes a lot of sense because money makes the world go around. If the economy crashes and the financial system crashes, how are you going to exchange value? So fuel shortages makes a lot of sense, and or the rationing of fuel makes a lot of sense, because if it's more difficult to get people to work, truckers are workers. People that work in refineries are workers. Look at, I'm not picking on Venezuela, but look at Venezuela. They have a fuel refinery, and yet they still have to import gasoline. Venezuela sits atop of, I believe it's the world's largest oil reserve. They have their own fuel refinery, yet they still have to import fuel. So that is a very likely possibility that there will be fuel shortages and or rationing of fuel. So what do you do, ladies and gentlemen? Prepare for fuel shortages. And what does that mean? It means different things to different people. How do I prepare for fuel shortages? Like gasoline, let's say. I try to keep enough fuel on hand to fill the tank of each of my vehicles at least one time. In addition to that, I try to never let my fuel tank in my vehicle or my wife's vehicle get under a half. Usually it's 3/4. Usually if I get to 3/4 of a tank, I'll stop at the gas station on my way to work and fill it up, which is usually about once a week. So I go through about a 1/4 tank of fuel per week. And maybe a little less now that I'm working from home half time. What do I do to prepare for my heating fuel? Because if there's a fuel shortage, i.e. gasoline, you're also going to probably have a shortage of heating fuel, which is very important in Alaska. What do? I have a backup heating system that runs on propane and that does not use electricity. I also have enough heating fuel for my primary heating system that will last me almost 2 years. If I ration it and I don't heat the house, to 68 degrees all winter long, and I ration it and I know that we are in a crisis, if we're in a real crisis, you better believe that we're not going to be living at 68 degrees Fahrenheit during the winter. That we'll be living probably around 60 or 58, and we'll be putting on more layers inside the house. I know that one of my neighbors has like a 50-gallon actual fuel can. It's an actual fuel tank that he got from someone. It's 50 gallons. It's in excellent condition, and he keeps it in a little trailer that he can pull, and he keeps that full. So that's another thing you can do. Number 2 over here, carjackings rise. Well, what I feel is that if the economy, the worse that an economy is, the higher that crime is. So carjackings is a crime. I think that all crimes will rise during an economic collapse. Number 3, interstate trucking is compromised, limiting the supply of essential goods. That's what I was talking about, the fuel, right? Not only are you going to have more crime, not only are you going to have trouble getting people to go to work when there is not a common money or common fiat currency that is being used, because the one that you were used to using has gone to zero. Not only are you going to have troubles getting people to work, but the crime is also going to affect trucking. Look at these, I believe they're called autonomous zones. I think there's 1 or 2 up. I think one of them is in Washington. And look at these police departments that are currently being unfunded, I guess, or funded less. Trucking companies are going out there and saying, and truckers are saying, I will not deliver to a city or an area where there is no funded police, because truckers depend on the security of the police and law enforcement officers to ensure their safety while they're traveling. Number 4 says defaults in garbage disposal and urban sanitation. And like I said before, it's pretty hard to get someone to work for nothing. If you don't have a way to pay someone for their labor, to exchange value with them, it's going to be pretty hard to get them to get to work. So, do you have a plan on how to dispose of your garbage? This is my plan on how to dispose of my garbage if something like this were to ever happen, and one day I go to the transfer station and every single bin is completely full and overflowing, and there's garbage all over the ground that you can barely even drive through. That's going to tell me that I have to go to plan B, and instead of disposing my garbage there, that I have to take care of it myself. So if you're in a location that allows you to have a burn barrel and you're able to use it, it's probably a good idea to get yourself a metal 55-gallon barrel just in case. Number 5, food scarcity, a disruption in the food supply chains. That goes with number 3, interstate trucking compromised. Number 6, water quality. The water quality drops. Number 5 is pretty evident as to what we should do to prepare, ladies and gentlemen. It's what I've been talking about for the last several years. Have a pantry that's extended out for a certain number of months, if not years. It's got to be within your comfort level because you have to live with yourselves. That's going to take care of food scarcity. And some people say, well, in Venezuela, they've been going through this for like 7 or 8 years now. If I lived in Venezuela and I only had a 1-year supply of food, I would have run through that the first year. Well, I would have to disagree with that, because food scarcity doesn't mean that there's absolutely no food. So the food that you have stored, you're going to cater to that food. You're going to ration that food and supplement what other foods you can get with your food stores, which will allow you to stretch out that 1-year supply of food to, who knows, 2, 3, maybe 4 years. Water quality. Berkey water filter, ladies and gentlemen. If we're lucky enough to still have electricity, should something like this happen, I personally have a reverse osmosis system. However, it needs water pressure. If for some reason we lose electricity, I have a Berkey filtration system. And for those of you that may not know, I made one myself using the guts of a Berkey system and some food grade buckets and a spigot. Very easy to make on your own, and it will cost you about 1/3 of what a large Berkey water filtration system will cost you. It doesn't have to be a Berkey, but I feel that as long as it's a gravity fed system, you should be okay. And make sure that you get a good quality one. This is not one of the areas where you want to skimp on price and quality. Number 7, the population gets on survival mode. One example of this could be the slaughtering of zoo animals for food. Well, I think this number 7 is going back to a story that I read about Venezuela a few years back, I guess, a few years back. To tell you the truth, I don't know for a fact if that happened. I did read an article saying that that happened. But ladies and gentlemen, when you are hungry and you haven't eaten for a week, and your kids are hungry and they haven't eaten for 3 or 4 days, and you don't know where you're going to get food, what I would say for number 7 is that the validity to what number 7 is saying is that people will do almost anything to feed themselves and feed their children if they're hungry enough. That's what I think they mean by survival mode. Number 8, pets go missing. I have a very good friend who grew up in Cuba, and he told me that this is a fact. That during the hard times where there was a lot of food rationing and people were pretty much really super hungry all the time and all they thought about was food, you didn't see dogs and cats roaming the streets. Number 9 says civil agitation leads to turbulence in the streets. Of course. When people have nothing to lose, ladies and gentlemen, they lose it. And when they see that there's no hope in the horizon, they go out and they do things that they normally wouldn't do. And a lot of those things can be very bad things. So what do you do, ladies and gentlemen? Just be prepared for that. Be prepared to defend yourselves, your families, your property, and your goods. Number 10, attacks become more frequent. And I think that goes with number 9. You know, when civility is lost, anything can happen. Same thing with 11. Kidnappings increase. And if you look at a lot of third world countries or really poor countries, you'll see that in those countries, there are a lot of kidnappings, especially of people that are well-to-do. They kidnap their family members. They kidnap them for ransom. So what do you do in this case? Self-defense. Be prepared. Don't go out by yourself. Go out during the time of the day or evening when you know that it is the safest to go out and handle any business that you have to handle. Number 12, gang activity increases. And that just goes with the civil, you know, with civility. Civility goes out the door. If there's no law enforcement there to enforce the law, then other people are going to take over. So yeah, gang activity increases. I agree with that 100%. And it's just, ladies and gentlemen, like I stated before, you just have to know your operational security. Operational security means what kind of security are you going to need for your day-to-day operations? Be it at the house, be it at your homestead, be it at your apartment, or be it to go out and get gasoline, or to go out and get groceries, or to go out and get medicines that you didn't have. That's why I am the biggest proponent, first and foremost, of being as prepared as possible. That way, when things like this are happening, you don't have a reason to have to go out. You can wait it out in your little corner of the world away from the mayhem. Number 13 probably should have been number 1. The first thing that would happen when there's an economic collapse is that the banks are going to close. I mean, an economic collapse in itself says that the money's no good. You know, there's no more money. It's no good. So are the banks going to be able to operate? Probably not. And I think that number 13 will go well with number 10, with number 9. Number 10, number 9 are going to go really well with number 13 because people are going to be angry. And like I said, when people have nothing to lose, they lose it. And these bigwigs that have been running these banks for all these years and have been knowingly stealing our money through the hidden tax of inflation, people are going to be angry at them. I was talking to my friend the other day, and I told him, I said, you know what? I said, some of the people that I actually think will be at most risk if society ever falls, or if we have some kind of collapse like this, are the people that are the real well-to-do people, the people that, you know, are the bankers, the CEOs, the real high-paid people, especially those people within the banking system, you know, within that system that has oppressed us for so long. I kind of feel bad for them because when this all goes down, they're going to be in really bad shape. There's only so many places you can run. And these guys that have been doing this for all this, they're living really good right now. They've been living life really good for a really long time. But I'm afraid that when the balloon finally pops, that they're going to be in a bad way. You know, there's only so many bunkers you can build. So I don't know what to think about that. You know, these people are going to be in a bad way. And I'm sorry for that. But like I said, and I said it 3 times, I think already, when people have nothing to lose, they lose it. Hospitals will become overloaded. That's pretty self-explanatory. If you're going to be having, you know, gang activity outside and people, you know, losing it outside and fighting and doing bad things, there's going to be a lot more injuries. A lot more people are going to be getting hurt. And if you're going to have a supply disruption, how the hospital is going to get supplied with the medicines and equipment they need, yeah, it makes sense that hospitals will become overloaded. And then number 15, the one that I hate to talk about, but let's talk about it for a little bit. It says here that the M law will be enacted. Now, what does that mean? Again, I was talking to a friend of mine not too long ago, and I said, we've been in a state of M law for a long time. It's just we've been in a soft state of M law. When you think about it, ladies and gentlemen, all of the regulations, all of the rules, all of the laws that there are on the books, I forgot what the name of this book is, but it's something like you commit 3 felonies a day, or you break 3 laws every day or every hour or something like that. There's so many laws on the books telling us how we can live our lives that we don't even know what the laws are. And at any time, one of these laws can be used against us, and we didn't even know that we broke that law. So that's why I say that, for the longest time, we've been under a soft M law, because we are completely controlled through regulations and the laws that are currently on the books. There are tens and tens and tens of thousands of laws. There's no possible way that anyone can know what they all are with clarity. But a real M law being enacted, I guess it depends on how bad it will get. I think it would be extremely difficult for that to happen here in the U.S. Extremely difficult for a real M law to be enacted, where there's checkpoints everywhere and there's military everywhere in the streets. I just don't think there's enough military to do the whole country. Maybe it'll be enacted in certain areas within the country, like where it's the worst, more than likely in the cities that are a lot more crowded. So maybe, but I'm not sure about the entire country. Ladies and gentlemen, I wanted to give Epic Economist a credit. I guess this is the video that this article was derived from. So I haven't clicked on it yet, but I wanted to click on it so that you guys can go check out Epic Economist video as well. And there you go. This is the video that article was based on. And this YouTube channel, I'm assuming, is the one that came up with that list of 15 items. So if you guys want to go check it out, go check it out. I'm going to take a look at this video on my own. I'm not going to play it here because I don't want to take someone else's content, which is not right. But it's called Epic Economist, and they have a lot of subscribers, 224,000. So I'm going to give it a thumbs up, even though I haven't watched it. But I'm pretty sure that it's a good video because the list that they came up with, I think is a pretty good list. Thank you very much for hanging out with me for a few minutes today. I truly do appreciate you spending a little bit of your life with me. Very much appreciate it, so thank you. Having said that, remember to be good to each other. When good people do good things happen. Remember to reach one, teach one, and repeat. If we all did this, the world would be a better place, and you know that it will be a better place. Many blessings to all of you and your families. This is Alaska Prepper, and I'm out.